it's real when it does. I'm flying above. No bluffing, no worry, keep it coming. And I'll be saying something. Simply when she gotta go. I'm flying so. Can you feel the rush? So let's go. Feel the rush, adrenaline running through us.
Good afternoon. I would like to say welcome you all to our workshop. This is my topic, Sustainable Development Goals and Environmental Pillars. This is my outline. I will start with to make an introduction related with Sustainable Development Goals. And later on, I will focus on environmental pillar. Let's start with a question. What is sustainable development? Sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. The second question is, how did we get to this definition? What is its significance? The United Nations was the platform for the member states to discuss emerging issues and put them onto the global agenda. The United Nations used its role of a thought leader to conceptualize sustainable development and emphasize the concept of needs, the idea of limitations. Throughout the 1970s up to 2010s, the United Nations has served as a platform for member states to discuss national and global development paths. The process of moving towards sustainable development has been started in 1972, followed in 2000 with the Millennium Development Goals, and since 2015 with the Sustainable Development Goals. From MDGs to SDGs, from 8 to 17 goals. The Millennium Development Goals with 8 goals, which were approved in 2000, become the Sustainable Development Goals in 2015 with 17 goals, and were signed with the participation of representatives of all countries. All countries mean 193 countries in the world. From MDGs to SDGs, an ambitious transformation. For example, MDG 1 has become SDG 1, 2, 3, 3 goals. MDG 4, 5, 6 have become SDG 3, 1 goal. On the other hand, MDG 7 has become SDG 6, 7, 12, 13, 14, 15, 6 goals. Completely new goals in SDGs. The previous slide showed how the MDGs are linked to the SDGs. These 4 goals shown in this slide are completely new goals in SDGs that were not seen in the MDGs. The 2030 agenda is universal, integrated, transformative, nationally owned, right-based, with a focus on people leaving no one behind, a new global partnership. Transforming our world, 5 critical components, 5 P's, we can say that 5 P's: people, prosperity, peace, partnership, and planet. Elements of the 2030 agenda: implementation, follow-up and review, results, framework, vision, and principles. Sustainable Development Goals, together with 17 SDGs, including the 169 targets and 2032 indicators. As you see, it's arranged as 3 parts, 3 pillars: economic, environmental, and social pillars. The first one, environmental pillars, will be explained by myself, and economic pillars will share with us, explained by Professor Dr. Şerife Zihni Eyüpoğlu, and social pillars will talk about by Professor Dr. Aşkın, Kiraz. Long-term impact of current trends in the economic, social, and environmental areas on the realization of the SDGs, demographic changes, urbanization, climate change, conflict and protected crisis, and frontier technologies. SDGs, once again, let's come and let's say something about each goal. Goal 1, no poverty. End poverty in all its forms everywhere. Goal 2, zero hunger. End hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. Goal 3, good health and well-being. Ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. Goal 4, quality education. Ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Goal 5, gender equality. Achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. Goal 6, clean water and sanitation. Ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. Goal 7, affordable and clean energy. Ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. Goal 8, decent work and economic growth. Promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. Goal 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. Goal 10, reduce inequalities. Reduce inequality within and among countries. Goal 11, sustainable cities and communities. Make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Goal 12, responsible consumption and production. Ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. Goal 13, climate action. Take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. Goal 14, life below water. Conserve and sustainably use the ocean, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. Goal 15, life on land. Protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably manage forests, combat desertification, and help and reverse land degradation and help biodiversity loss. Goal 16, peace and justice. Promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. This is the last one. Goal 17, partnership for the goals. Strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. Let's come back to the sustainable development. Sustainable development is equal to economic growth plus social development plus environmental protection. 2030 agenda seeks to strengthen the social, economic, and environmental dimensions of sustainable development. The implementation of the 2030 agenda requires a more holistic, coherent, and integrated approach at the national, regional, and global levels. Policies to implement the 2030 agenda need to address interlinkages within the social sector, as well as between the social, economic, and environmental dimensions of sustainable development. Similarly, existing institutions or institutional mechanisms that are working in the field of social development will have to adjust or expand the scope of work so as to accommodate the new mandates arising from the SDGs. These are environmental pillars we will focus on. 6, 7, 12, 13, 14, and 15. We will talk about all these goals. Before this, let's make an introduction. Environmental pillars in focus. The environmental pillar is founded on a commitment to protect the environment by reducing risks and measuring the environmental impacts of the activities. The challenges in the area are as follows. Saving and preserving natural energy or agricultural resources, assessing the carbon footprint and reducing total greenhouse gas emissions, and further achieving sustainable development goals. Prevent water scarcity and reduce overall waste for current and future generations. We will limit ourselves to the introduction to targets here, because as mentioned at the beginning of the workshop, in the end, you will be asked about which goal or goals of sustainable development fall under the works, research, and projects you have done so far. Therefore, the details of the SDGs, which are the targets of each goal for the environmental pillar, are explained below. Let's start with goal 6, clean water and sanitation. You can see the current situation. We will focus on some of them. We select some of them. The world's water-related ecosystems are being degraded at an alarming rate. Over the past 300 years, over 85% of the planet's wetlands have been lost. Another current issue, meeting drinking water, sanitation, and hygiene targets by 2030 requires a 4-time increase in the pace of progress. At current rates in 2030, 1.6 billion people will lack safely managed drinking water. 2.8 billion people will lack safely managed sanitation. And 1.9 billion people will lack basic hand hygiene facilities. And goal 6 targets. You can see many. I focus on limited of them, depends on the time limitation. By 2030, achieve universal and equitable access to safe and affordable drinking water for all. By 2030, implement integrated water resources management at all levels, including through transboundary cooperation as appropriate. Let's come to the second goal, goal 7, affordable and clean energy. You can see many current situations. Let's focus on some of them. Impressive progress in electrification has slowed due to the challenge of reaching those hardest to reach number of people without electricity. 2010, 1.2 billion. 2020, 733 million. And 2030, based on the current trend, will be 679 million. And 2.4 billion people still use insufficient and polluting cooking system. Goal 7 targets are: by 2030, ensure universal access to affordable, reliable, and modern energy services. By 2030, increase substantially the share of renewable energy in the global energy mix. Goal 12, responsible consumption and production. Current situation, you can see the current situations. Unsustainable patterns of consumption and production are root cause of triple planetary crisis. Crises are climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. E-waste collection rates, 1.2% Latin America and Caribbean, 1.6% Sub-Saharan Africa, 46.9% Europe and Northern America. And the last value show us global average. It is 22.8%. And goal 12 targets. By 2030, achieve the sustainable management and efficient use of natural resources. By 2030, substantially reduce waste generation throughout prevention, reduction, recycling, and reuse. Develop and implement tools to monitor sustainable development impacts for sustainable tourism that creates jobs and promotes local culture and products. Now let's focus on 13 climate action and current situation are: climate change is humanity's code red warning. Our window to avoid climate catastrophe is closing rapidly. Different temperature scenarios for coral reefs depends on 1.5 degrees centigrade scenario, 70 up to 90% gone. Depends on 2 degrees centigrade scenario, die off completely. Sea level will rise 30 up to 60 centimeters by 2100. And what will happen? Coastal regions will stay under the water. They have to move another place. And drought estimated to displace 700 million people by 2030. Medium to large scale disasters will increase 40% from 2015 to 2030. We are living. And goal 13 targets. Strengthen resilience and adaptive capacity to climate-related hazards and natural disaster in all countries. Integrate climate change measures into national policies, strategies, and planning. Improve education, awareness raising, and human and institutional capacity on climate change mitigation, adaptation, impact reduction, and early warning. Now let's come 14, goal 14, life below water. You can see the current situations, most of them. Let's focus on limited. Our ocean, the planet's largest ecosystem, is endangered, plastic marine pollution, ocean warming, eutrophication, acidification, overfishing. Plastic pollution is shocking the ocean. 17 plus million metric tons of plastic entered the ocean in 2021, projected to double or triple by 2040. And goal 14 targets. By 2025, prevent and significantly reduce marine pollution of all kinds, in particularly from land-based activities, including marine debris and nutrient pollution. By 2030, increase the economic benefits to small island developing states and least developed countries from the sustainable use of marine resources, including throughout sustainable management of fisheries, aquaculture, and tourism. This is goal 15, life on land. Current situations are around 40,000 species are documented to be at risk of extinction over the coming decades. 10 million hectares of the forest are destroyed every year. Almost 90% of global deforestation is due to agricultural expansion. 49.6% cropland expansion, 38.5% livestock grazing. And goal 15 targets. Significantly reduce all forms of violence and related death rates everywhere. Promote and enforce non-discriminatory laws and policies for sustainable development. Yes, after all this explanation, let's come to the solution related with solution questions. What can we do for the environmental pillar? Okay, this is our first topic, climate action. To limit warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels, as set out in the Paris Agreement. Global greenhouse gas emissions will need to peak before 2025. Then they must decline by 43% by 2030 and to net zero by 2050. Do you believe that this will happen? I don't believe. Countries are articulating climate action plans to cut emissions and adapt to climate impacts through the nationally determined contributions. However, current national commitments are not sufficient to meet the 1.5 degrees centigrade target. They agree with me. Another topic depends on the same question. What can we do for the environmental pillar? Second topic, adaptation. The IPCC, you know IPCC, they took the Nobel laureate 2007 together with Al Gore. Depends on their study, climate change studies. The IPCC defines adaptation as the process of adjustment to actual or expected climate and its effects. It's doing what we can do, what we can to live with and minimize the destruction and suffering that comes from climate change. Because, to be clear, we have to adapt, especially when we know that the worst climate impacts hit poor families and people of color the hardest. The bottom lines in this, we have got to build homes and infrastructure that can handle the stronger storms and floods on the horizon. We have got to figure out how to feed billions, even as global warming slashes farm yields, turns stable crops into junk food, and transforms where we can grow what, and on and on. And the last topic depends on the same question, mitigation. Yes. In a climate context, as the IPCC describes, mitigation is human intervention to reduce the source or enhance the sinks of greenhouse gases. Here is the thing, though. These two solutions, adaptation and mitigation paths, are far from equal. Both may protect people from a changing climate, but they have very different outcomes. We have to underline this reality. And thank you very much for your attention. You are invited to pay attention to the continuation of the workshop. I would like to invite Professor Dr. Şerife Zihni. Please.
Thank you, Hüseyin Hocam, for your very enlightening presentation. I would like to continue my presentation to discuss the economic pillar related to Sustainable Development Goals. I will first of all start off, in fact, I have divided my presentation into three parts. The first part is just a brief explanation or description of what we mean by economic pillars of sustainability. Then the second part of my presentation will involve going over the 5 goals and understanding what they entail. And also I will inform you about the current situation in regards to the progress towards these goals and what can be done to help in the progress. And the third part of my presentation will be based on small and medium-sized enterprises. Small and medium-sized enterprises play a very important role in our economy. However, they are having difficulties in sustainability. They're having difficulties surviving due to conflicts, due to crises. Therefore, I will briefly describe what needs to be done to strengthen small and medium-sized enterprises so that they too can contribute to the attainment of these sustainable goals. Okay, as we can see, there are 5 goals under the heading of economic pillars. Number 1, no poverty. Goal number 2, zero hunger. Goal number 3, good health and well-being. Goal number 8, decent work and economic growth. And number 9, industry, innovation and infrastructure. So out of the total 17 sustainable goals, 5 belong under the economic pillar. Okay, what is the economic pillar? The economic pillar is based on the ability of businesses to contribute to economic development and growth. In doing so, businesses must encourage and promote the protection of the environment by limiting the risks posed by their production. We all know that the natural resources that businesses use come from the environment. Therefore, businesses need to protect the environment if they are to continue using these resources, if they are to continue being able to access these resources, which will enable them to be sustainable. The economic pillar of sustainability is essential for businesses to exist. In this sense, profitability, creating a profit, is a must for businesses. Without creating a profit, businesses cannot survive, let alone be sustainable. However, profitability is not the only concern that businesses should have. Businesses should also be concerned with people and also should be concerned with the environment. Sustainability means balancing the profits and its impacts on the people and the planet. This is what we call the triple bottom line, the three concerns of businesses: profits, people, and the planet. I want to give a very simple example so you can understand more clearly. A diesel power plant operates 24 hours a day in a city using diesel engines that emits black smoke and produces a very distracting sound. Yes, this organization, this company is making a profit because it is operating non-stop. It is operating 24 hours a day. However, it is not considering the people and it is not considering the environment, because as a result of the black smoke emission, it is polluting the air. And as a result of the very distracting and disturbing noise and sound generated by its operations, it is also causing noise pollution for the residents in the area. Businesses have the responsibility to research and have the responsibility to identify solutions to these type of problems. Yes, they are earning a profit, but they are also obliged to understand and find ways to reduce the negative impact that they have on the environment and also on the people. The relationship between the economic pillar and the other pillars, social and environment, is actually very simple and it's very logical. However, it can be challenging for businesses because businesses want to earn a profit and they constantly want to earn more of a profit. So sometimes they are in a situation where they are ignoring the environment and the people, even though they are aware of the damage that they are creating. Sustainability in this sense means, yes, earning a profit, but doing so in a way that will not damage the environment and the people. Earning a profit in a way that will not negatively impact the people and the environment. Businesses, just like all of us, we tend to concentrate on today. We don't think about tomorrow. We don't think about the future. However, sustainability is urging us to take action today so that we can feel the benefits of this in the future. So we have to think of tomorrow, not just today. Okay, let's take a look at the 5 goals that come under the pillar, the economic pillar. What is goal number 1? It is no poverty. What is the current situation? Unfortunately, this is very sad, but unfortunately, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the 4 years of progress that has been made regarding eliminating poverty, unfortunately, has been zeroed. It has been erased. The pandemic has erased any progress that has been made over the last 4 years. Also, increasing inflation and the Ukraine-Russian war has also been an obstacle to progress in no poverty. And also the working poverty has increased over or due to the pandemic. When I say working poverty, I mean we are talking about the working poor. What do we mean by working poor? We mean the people who are working, however, they are working in very low income jobs. So even though they are earning and even though their family is earning, the overall family income is very low and it is below poverty lines. So again, they are also having difficulty. Okay, what are the targets that need to be accomplished so that progress can be made towards no poverty? As you see, there are many targets, so I cannot really go into detail of all of them, but I will read 1 or 2 of them so you can get a rough idea. The first one, by 2030, eradicate extreme poverty for all people everywhere, currently measured as people living on less than $1.25 a day. This is very drastic for me to imagine that there are still people today living on less than $1.25 a day. It's terrible. By 1930, reduce at least by half the proportion of men women and children of all ages living in poverty in all its dimensions according to national definitions. Okay, so what can be done? As we already know, like I have mentioned, the natural environment supplies ecosystem goods and services that provide income, support job creation, poverty alleviation, and reduced inequality. When I say ecosystem goods and services, what do I mean? When I say goods, I mean, for example, food, meat, fish, fruit, vegetables. And when I say services, I mean, for example, soil formation, clean air, clean fresh water. However, due to man interference, we are suffering from climate changes, and we are being exposed to natural disasters, increased natural disasters. And these are all threats towards reducing poverty. Also, unfortunately, like Professor Hüseyin also mentioned, the majority of the poor population are living in countries or areas that are most prone to such natural disasters. Therefore, what we need to do is we need to teach these citizens how to adapt to climate change and how to protect their facilities against such disasters and such climate change. And also, it is important for them to understand that they need to learn new skills as well for livelihood diversification. So instead of just agriculture, they need skills to do other jobs as well. Okay, the second pillar, zero hunger, the current situation, again, due to conflicts, due to COVID-19, due to climate change and growing inequalities all around the world, this is also undermining food security. Worldwide, 1 in 10 people are suffering from hunger. Again, increased food prices have also increased hunger. And again, the Ukraine-Russian war has triggered food shortages for the poorest. Because the COVID-19 and the Ukraine war has occurred over the last 2 years or 3 years, this has drastically, unfortunately, prevented a lot of progress towards the achievement of all of the sustainable goals. Again, if we look at the targets that need to be attained so that progress can be made towards zero hunger, again, let me just take a look at 1 or 2 of them. By 2030, build the resilience of the poor and those in vulnerable situations and reduce their exposure and vulnerability to climate-related extreme events and other economic, social, and environmental shocks and disasters. Create sound policy frameworks at the national, regional, and international levels based on pro-poor and gender-sensitive development strategies to support accelerated investment in poverty eradication actions. Again, what can be done? Like we have already just mentioned, hunger and poverty, they are very related. So again, unsustainable expansion of agriculture has created serious environmental problems like soil erosion, water pollution because of the chemicals being used, and also because of the emission of the greenhouse gases. Again, as a result of these, climate change and natural disasters have increased. So again, what do? We need to teach our citizens or the poorer citizens about disaster risk management, climate change adaptation and mitigation. And also what is important here is crop diversification. In other words, we need to teach them that concentrating on just one crop is insufficient. They need to diversify and concentrate on a variety of crops, and this will minimize the effects of bad or unsuccessful crops. So this will help in the increased harvest quantity as well as quality. The next the next goal is good health and well-being. Again, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, 500 million people were infected. 15 million died as a result of the virus. Again, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, 92% of countries have suffered from disruptions in essential health services. In 2020, almost 23 million children missed their vaccines. Again, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, anxiety and depression has increased. Again, let's take a look at the targets. By 2030, reduce the global maternity mortality ratio to less than 70 per 100,000 live births. At the moment, the rate is roughly 167. The target is to go down to 70. We still have a long way to go. By 2030, end preventable deaths of newborns and under 5-year age children. I am emphasizing preventable deaths. A lot of children in the poorer populations are dying from illnesses or issues that can be dealt with very easily. With all countries aiming to reduce neonatal mortality to at least as low as 12 per 1,000 live births. At the present, I think the present rate is around 17, and under 5 mortality to at least as low as 25 per 1,000 live births. At the moment, this 25 rate is around 37. So again, there is still progress to be made. Okay, air and water pollution, as well as poor management of hazardous chemicals and waste, contributes to undermining good health. What can be done? It's necessary to reduce the pollution which results as a result of businesses' production facilities. There needs to be less exposure to chemicals, and it's necessary to adopt cleaner energy. When I say cleaner energy, I mean renewable energy. For example, the sun, for example, the wind. These are much cleaner. They create a much healthier, a much greener environment, and also there is no risk of them running out. They are always available. The next one is goal number 8, decent work and economic growth. The global economy is again still recovering from the pandemic and also from the war, but we are still faced with high inflation, supply chain disruptions, and labor market changes, and also very high unemployment levels. Again, let's take a look at the targets. Achieve higher levels of economic productivity through diversification, technological upgrading and innovation, including through a focus on high value added and labor intensive sectors. Promote development-oriented policies that support productive activities, decent job creation, entrepreneurship, creativity and innovation, and encourage the formalization and growth of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, including through access to financial services. Okay, what can be done? The natural environment, like we have said already, repeated several times, plays an important role in supporting economic activities because this is where the natural resources come from. It contributes by providing resources and raw materials such as water, timber, and minerals that are required as inputs for production of goods and services. What can be done? Create green jobs in order to preserve the environment and ensure economic growth and full and productive employment which will lead to new and better employment opportunities for all and provide greater economic security. And the last goal, industry, innovation and infrastructure. The current situation, unfortunately, again, because of a lack of access to financial support, companies in small scale industries, in other words, small and medium sized industries, are having difficulty continuing. Only one in three is benefiting from financial aid. Again, because of the pandemic, the airline industry is still struggling to recover and get back on track. 1 in 3 manufacturing jobs negatively influenced by the COVID-19 pandemic due to companies shutting down or companies laying off some of their members, companies preferring to have less employees and each employee being required to do more work. Manufacturing companies in less developed countries are having difficulty recovering because of lack of technology, because of lack of financial support. And also low-tech industries are less resilient in crises compared to higher tech industries. Okay, what are some of the targets? Develop quality, reliable, sustainable, and resilient infrastructure, include regional and trans-border infrastructure to support economic development and human well-being, with a focus on affordable and equitable access for all. Increase the access of small-scale industrial and other enterprises, in particular in developing countries, to financial services, including affordable credit and their integration into value chains and markets. Okay, what can we do? Many countries lack basic and resilient infrastructure, and this causes environmental degradation. Therefore, what do we have to do? Construct newer, greener infrastructure, or reconfigure the existing infrastructure systems. Use smart technologies because this can contribute to the reduction of environmental impacts and disaster risks and increase the efficient use of resources. Okay, and I want to complete my presentation and just take a look at the small and medium-sized enterprises and sustainability. The private sector has a critical role to play in advancing in global development. When we say the private sector, most of us automatically think of the big international, multinational companies, the giants all around the world. However, the private sector also consists of small and medium-sized enterprises. In fact, they represent around 90% of all businesses around the world, which is a very big percentage. More than 60% of employment, again, all around the world, and half of the gross domestic product worldwide. So we can say that the small and medium-sized enterprises are actually the backbone of our economy. They are very important. The small, medium-sized enterprises, they concentrate mainly in service and manufacturing sectors, and these sectors are very labor-intensive sectors. And they are, because they are labor-intensive, they are the type of businesses and sectors which are most likely to suffer as a result of uncertain conditions and crisis situations. Therefore, it is vital, it is essential that small and medium-sized enterprises are strengthened to enable them to be able to recover from such uncertain and crisis situations, and therefore enable them to survive and also enable them to remain sustainable. Okay, so what can be done? What's very important is designing and implementing workshops or training programs aimed at improving the skills and the knowledge of small and medium-sized enterprise owners. Improve their knowledge, improve their skills to enable them to survive and to enable them to be sustainable. What kind of skills are we talking about? Digitalization, e-commerce, diversification, innovation. Also provide entrepreneurship training for women and especially the younger generation. This will provide and protect jobs and livelihood, which is critical for the attainment of the goals, for reducing poverty and hunger, for creating jobs, reducing inequalities, and also speeding up progress towards the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals in the country where these small and medium-sized enterprises are operating. That brings me to the end of my topic. Thank you very much for listening to me. And now I will pass on to Professor Aşkın to continue her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Professor Şerife. Now, I want to talk about the third pillar of sustainable development. It's society pillar. Firstly, I want to make a different definition about sustainability, a different point of view. Sustainability is the meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Yes, we talk about the three pillars of sustainable development that we talk about the economic, we talk about the environmental, and let's talk about the social pillar. There are three interlocking rings in sustainability. Sustainability brings three elements into harmony. If we want to talk about the effect of society, we can see it is an open system with respect to energy, and it is a closed system with respect to matter. Nothing disappears, everything disperses. Sustainability is about the ability of our own human society to continue indefinitely within these natural cycles. Then, how we influence the system? Physically inhibit nature's ability to run cycles. You see the cycle here. Relatively large flows of materials from the Earth's crust and introduce persistent compounds foreign to nature. Society barriers to people meeting their basic needs worldwide. What can we see in a sustainable society? Here you can see different examples. For example, you can see human diversity, like cultural, linguistic, ethnic, or you can find equity, dependence, independence, quality of life, institutional structures and organization, political structures, and like this. In a sustainable society, nature isn't subject to systematically increasing concentrations of substances extracted from the Earth's crust, concentrations of substances produced by society, degradation by physical means, and in that society, people are not subject to conditions that systematically undermine their capacity to meet their needs. Then what does sustainability offer a business or organization? I put here some examples, some example titles to make the definition clear. For example, new market potential, competitive differentiation, platform for innovation, reduced energy bills and operating costs, risk avoidance, improved employee morale, increased productivity and reduced employee absenteeism, improved public and community relations, do well by doing good, be a hero to your children and grandchildren. And I want to go on with the real examples to make them clear in your mind. For example, I put a concept here called childcare. Childcare is very related with social sustainability. Childcare is an issue that affects everyone. You may not have children, but it's still a challenge for your friends and family members who do. It's also a challenge for society as a whole. Childcare is a universal challenge because it impacts the economy, the environment, and the community at large. That's why childcare is an important example of social sustainability. Thanks to childcare services, it is possible to help single parents to keep their jobs and income as well as provide new opportunities to socialize. And we can see here another title about social sustainable examples, social equity. Social equity is about everyone having equal access to same opportunities. In other words, social equity is about everyone being able to participate in society and have a voice in the decision making that affects their lives. Social equity is not just about treating people equally or equally well, it's also about treating them with respect and fairness. Social sustainability includes tangible goals such as reducing poverty and increasing education levels, but it also includes intangible aspects like how we feel when we interact with our communities because isolation can be as harmful as hunger. And I think this is the most important example between the most important examples. Education. Education provides individuals with opportunities for personal growth and development. As such, it is one of the greatest social sustainability examples. Social sustainability is an important part of education because it helps people to learn about their community environment, which can help them to be more environmentally conscious. Education is important for social sustainability because it also helps people to learn new skills so they can be more productive in their jobs or other activities. Additionally, schools, colleges, and universities are also important places where long-lasting social relationships are created for the new generations, contributing to more cohesive communities and improving social sustainability. I put here some example titles. Maybe they can give you different ideas. For example, poverty elevation, senior care, healthcare, sport, diversity in the workplace, community outreach. This can be in social sustainable. There are 6 goals on social pillar, as you see here. Now I want to explain them one by one. This is first goal of social sustainability, goal 4, quality education. There are many targets, as you see on previous slides, but I choose the most important targets according to me. Free primary and secondary education. Isn't it important? Equal access to quality pre-primary education. Build and upgrade inclusive and safe schools. Eliminate all discrimination in education. These are the most important targets, I think. This is goal 5, gender equality. The targets, the most important targets for me, end discrimination against women and girls, eliminate forced marriages and genital mutilation, ensure full participation in leadership and decision making. And this is 10th goal, reduce inequalities, reduce income inequalities, ensure equal opportunities and end discrimination, enhanced representation for developing countries in financial institutions. And 11th goal is sustainable cities and communities. The targets are safe and affordable housing, protect the world's cultural and natural heritage, inclusive and sustainable urbanization. Goal 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. The targets are reduce violence everywhere, protect children from abuse, exploitations, trafficking, and violence, promote the rule of law, and ensure equal access to justice. And goal 17, partnership for the goals. Targets are mobilize resources to improve domestic revenue collection, invest in least developed countries, knowledge sharing and cooperation for access to science, technology, and innovation. I want to thank you all, and I want to invite dear Farhad for an efficient sum up.
Hello everyone, and thank you for your attention. Now I want to summarizing the SDG presentations from 3 professors and presenting as an example a related project to SDGs because you know this is a workshop, and in this and in the end of this session we will ask you about the related project you did or you want to do in the future related to this 17 SDGs, because professors shared their experiences with you, and in the end of the workshop it is time to see what you want to do in the future or you did in the past related to SDGs. Yes, I am Farhad Bolouri, research assistant in Faculty of Civil Engineering, and I start to present. Yes, here you see the table of contents, a summary, and after that a project and it's relating with SDGs, and in the end we have a little conclusion. Yes, as it presented, sustainable development is economic growth with social development and environmental protection. It is started from Portland report and comes until 2000 with MDGs, and after 2050 it goes with the SDGs. As a sustainable development goals, as you saw, we have 17 SDGs that we can group them in 5 groups or 5 Ps: people, prosperity, peace, partnership, and planet. And now, what now, or what we can do now? As you know, there is no magical thing, and we must do something. Because of that, we can see what we want to do in the future. Here is an example, a real project. It is a project with my supervisor, Prof. Dr. Hüseyin Gökçekuş, and me. This is a real project as an example. It's named Developing 5-minute walking inside and near public center mobile application. I want to discuss about it because after this, everything is related to this project. It is a mobile application. It is for your spare time, such as lunchtime at university. It is it alarm you. You can go a cultural or social activity in your, as I said, spare time. It is about the 5 to 15 minutes goals on foot, not using car and make air pollution, and use of smart and stable city, or we said smart city. And what it causes, it is air pollution reduction, and it is a climate action. How it start? The first time it started from Boston in the United States, but it was on paper. We did it on paper in the University of Tabriz 2 years ago, but how it continued, this idea as a mobile application was chosen one of the top ideas in an idea competition in universities sustainability. And after that, it won last year in UNDP ideation competition. As the first place, it won this idea. Until now, it was the idea. In 2022, it continued as a SDSN, Sustainable Development Solution Network, youth program as a local pathway fellowship. It is 100 young people from all over the world every year. And last time, because of this project, we can won it. You can see in the website that I shared. For the future, with the help and support of Gönyeli municipality, we sent it to EU ideation competition for sustainable cities. They help to implementation of an idea in your city, and we want to do it in Gönyeli if they support. But now it is the main part of this project. We until now I introduced what is this project, but as you saw, it was related with the city. It was related with the smart city and smart things using mobile application and reduce air pollution and as a climate action. So now I say to you with the detail what SDGs are related to this project. It can be an example for you for after my presentation, you take your own projects or ideas for doing. But as you saw, idea to become implementation in your city or in your case, it takes time. For example, 3-4 years, our idea to becoming an implement, it takes time. Yes, now you see it is related to SDG 11, make cities inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. It is related to targets. You remember all the professors said and talked about the targets. It is related to target 11.2. It is about the sustainable transport systems and something like that. And you see, as an indicator, you remember Professor Hüseyin Gökçekuş said to you about the indicators, 232 indicators we have. Here, it is related to indicator 11.2.1. And it is related again to SDG 11, but this time it is related with target 11.6. It is about the air quality. And as you see, it is related with indicator 11.6.2. It is about the particulate matters and other pollutants in the city's air. And here you can see it is related to, again, SDG 11, but this time target 11.7 and indicator 11.7.1, as it is related to disabilities and the people living in the cities. Here are the other SDGs, but not with the targets and more details, but just as example, you saw this project is related to SDGs 13 because of air pollution reduction, and so it is related with climate action. It is related with SDG 9 because it is remote sustainable industrialization, smart city, and so on. And it is related to SDG 8 because of the economy, because that mobile application have some advertisements and other things that it is related to economic growth, especially with a smart place. And as a conclusion, you can define a project idea or get a target for yourself, check which SDGs are related to, and examines its impact and what you as a young researcher can do for it. And here I want to say thank you for attenders in both our YouTube channel and Google and our Google meeting, and say thank you to Professor Dr. Hüseyin Gökçekuş, Professor Dr. Şerife Zihni, and Professor Dr. Aşkın Kiraz. And here our YouTube presentation is finished, and we want to our dear friends in university's technique part to close our session. But as our Google Meet, I want to go ahead with our friends here as a hybrid workshop, because as we mentioned here, we want you to get an idea for yourself and discuss your ideas here. So in 1 minute, I come to our Google Meet. First, I want to close our YouTube. Thank you so much. And I want our technical friends to close this session. Thank you so much.
Yes.